We've talked about population structures. We've talked about population growth and population declines. We've talked about logistic versus exponential growth. We've talked about individual populations. But now we're going to talk about how different species will interact with each other. Two different populations coming into contact and how they influence the growth of each other, the growth or destruction of each other. We'll define what a community is and the main types of interspecific interactions. So as far as defining what a community is, right? A community is where interacting populations of different species come together. Here we've got, you can't see, I guess I censored the zebra behind this. Lion, zebra, and carrion birds. A community is many different populations, many different species populations interacting with each other. So here we've got 3 populations of species all interacting. That forms a community. These communities, these different species will interact with each other with what are known as interspecific or interspecies relationships. Competition, predation, herbivory, parasitism, mutualism, and commensalism. So a lot of vocabulary here. We're going to go through each one of those. 2 species may compete with each other. They are competing for limited resources. Hyenas and lions are competing for prey. The prey are limited. And this is actually really interesting because everyone always looks at the lion as like the king of the savannah, right? They are the top tier predator. It turns out, recent studies have shown that it's not the lion that does the kill. It's a pack of hyenas that tends to take down a kill during the night. And then the lion comes during the morning and just sort of scares them off. Just based on the Lion King, that's just the way it works. So 2 groups, 2 species competing for limited resources is competition. If these competing species, if either one of those competing species is able to have an advantage, that is, they get more kills, they get more resources, that will lead to a rise in the number of that species' offspring at the expense of the other species' offspring. So you lead to what's known as competitive exclusion. One species is being outcompeted by another and is no longer able to reproduce efficiently. Like these 2 birds, but which bird is going to win? The big bird is probably going to win and steal the food from the little bird, and the little bird will die off. That's competitive exclusion. However, 2 species can live together if they partition the resources. That is, if they occupy different niches or they occupy a slightly different range. In trees, you can have 5 different types of birds who occupy slightly different areas of the same tree. Though there is a limited resource, the tree, the Blackburnian warbler only lives right along the edges. The black-throated green warbler lives in the center, in the middle, compared to the Cape May warbler that lives at the peak in the middle. The same tree, the same resource is being used by different species, and they are not competing with each other due to resource partitioning. When a resource partition occurs, if these 2 species live in the same area, they tend to adapt to that region. They're going to look very different from each other. Here are 2 woodpeckers. Their beak shapes are very different. One beak is wider, better for grabbing grubs off the tree. Their partition, their area that they're eating is the bugs that are actively crawling on the tree, compared to the ones with the sharper bills. Those are for penetrating the tree. They eat the bugs that are in the tree. The same resource, the tree, is being split between 2 distinct organisms, and that leads to very different phenotypes of those organisms, very different looks. Another type of interspecific interaction is exploitation. Every single non-photosynthetic organism out there, including you, exploits other organisms. That is, we are going to benefit at their expense. Whenever you eat something, whenever you eat what used to be another organism, another living organism, you are exploiting that organism. It's not a bad thing. You're eating a salad, you're exploiting the plant. You eat a burger, you're exploiting the cow. Do you see how that works? Every heterotroph exploits other organisms. Predation is one type of exploitation. Whales are predators. I know, it's so weird to think of them that way. Apparently in the Virginia SOL, I swear, they said that whales were herbivores. And I was like, no, that's wrong. Whales are active predators. As they come up, they're eating a lot of fish, very small fish. Did you know the whale has even the largest of the whales has a throat roughly the size of a beach ball, which means that if they tried to swallow you, you'd kill the whale. You're too big to go down their throat. How do you get out? No, you still die, don't get me wrong, but you're taking the whale with you. Predation, predators have to be able to, obviously they have to exploit the other organism. But the other organism tends to want to survive. They tend to fight back, and they can fight back using some obvious adaptations like thick hides, things like that. Predators, where a predator gets good at exploiting one organism, the other organism gets a defense. When there's a defense that rises in a prey, the predator gets a new mode of attack. And you end up with this balance. That's the Red Queen hypothesis. Predators may have claws and fangs and poison and all sorts of other things to take down prey. And then the prey adapt. So whereas a predator might have sharp claws or may be able to poison the prey might have different types of coloration, may be able to produce toxins, make it so it's non-palatable, it's not tasty. Have different aposematic coloration, or may even be a Batesian mimic. May look like something that's not tasty, even though it actually is quite delicious. Cryptic coloration makes it hard to find prey. They're cryptic. It's like camouflage. You can see there's a flounder. It's some sort of fish somewhere in there. Yeah, fish. Okay, fish. What is that in the corner? It is a lizard. Right there. Right, I know. It's completely hidden with cryptic coloration. Some predators will use cryptic coloration. Why would a predator use cryptic coloration? Ambush. You may have aposematic coloration. This says, don't touch me, I'm dangerous. The skunk has aposematic coloration. Black and white. What does it say? It says, don't touch me. It stands out. Is it the corn snake? Or is it the coral snake? I always get them backwards. It's a corn. I think that's a coral snake.
No, I think that's a
corn. Corn? Which is poisonous? That's a coral snake. Is the corn snake the poisonous one? I know, okay. And the reason that we're getting into this discussion is because the coral snake is highly venomous. We're going to talk about the corn snake in just a second. But it looks almost exactly like the coral snake. Slight differences. And of course, the poison dart frog. These are brightly colored in order to say, don't touch me, I will kill you. Or make you stink. That's aposematic, the skunk. That's the aposematic coloration. Batesian mimics look like aposematic organisms. A Batesian mimic is where a less toxic species tries to look like it's dangerous, like the corn snake. The corn snake looks a lot like the coral snake. And because of that, organisms look, even we look at it and we're like, is that a coral snake or a corn snake? I better not touch it. You don't want to make that mistake. The corn snake is kind of harmless. The coral snake is venomous. If you can't tell the difference, you probably shouldn't touch it. Why would you touch the snake in the first place? If you were to look at the different butterflies, they tend to, one of them might be palatable, the other one it's delicious for birds, the other one is not. If you look like the butterfly that's not delicious, you're not going to get eaten. And thus the alleles for that coloration go up in the population. These Batesian mimics are going to look poisonous even though they're not. I swear to you, my sister had this cat that was black and white. And I couldn't tell, because whenever the cat went to defend itself, it would roll on its stomach, and it had this white coloration on its stomach and black on the sides, and I swore it looked like a skunk. Well, if I couldn't tell the difference, it's Batesian mimicry. There's a type of caterpillar that when it's threatened has these big eyes, like what look like eyes on its butt. And when it's threatened, it swells its back end up so it looks exactly like a snake's head. Batesian mimicry. Look like something that's dangerous so you're not killed. Organisms may interact through herbivory. Herbivores eat plants. Now, this, unsurprisingly, harms the plant. Plants don't like this. So you have one organism exploiting another. The herbivore exploiting the plant. These, in order to protect themselves, plants secrete secondary metabolites. Of course, one of my favorite subjects. These are chemicals that could become toxic. So in order for an herbivore to know what to eat, they have to take in smells through their receptors in their nose. This helps them understand what's out there. These secondary metabolites say, tell organisms, this is something you can eat, this is something you shouldn't eat. Hey guys, do you guys know what this top picture is? What kind of leaf? Yeah, poison ivy, right. Poison ivy secretes a lot of secondary metabolites that in turn are going to interact with an herbivore, causing an irritation. So you don't eat the plant. Heck, we don't even touch those plants if we can identify it. Peppers. What do you guys know about peppers? They're spicy and hot. That's to prevent other organisms from eating them before the seeds are ready. So herbivores can detect that toxicity using their nose. They don't have to go up and eat something to know that it's dangerous. They smell it first. So here we've got, obviously the nose of, cow. Here we've got the star-nosed mole's nose. Star-nosed mole's nose, yeah. There are receptors on there that are going to help mammals and help other organisms understand what's going on around them. Parasitism. One species exploits another and survives off of it. But it doesn't kill it. Mosquitoes. Mosquitoes survive off of your blood. They use it to nourish their offspring. They don't kill you, though. If they killed you, there'd be no more blood to get. They would die off. Here we've got a tomato hornworm being devoured by parasitic wasps. These are the wasp larvae after they've crawled out of the caterpillar. Two broad types of parasites. There's endoparasites and ectoparasites. Endo means what? Inside. They live inside the host, like the tapeworm. Ectoparasites, on the other hand, live outside the host, like a tick or head lice. They live on the exterior. But if we're not talking about parasitism, we might talk about mutualism. A mutualistic relationship is one in which both species benefit. The clownfish and the coral. The coral gets cleaned. The clownfish gets a nice, safe place to live and a small meal sometimes. The hummingbird and the flower. The hummingbird gets nectar. The flower gets pollinated. The sloth and algae. This is kind of weird, but hear me out. The algae get a place to live. The sloth's fur is covered oftentimes in algae. They're surviving there. The sloth is breathing on it. They got a lot of the carbon dioxide, and the sloth is able to climb up trees where the algae can grow more because there's more sunlight. Then, when the sloth is hungry, and sloths don't move very quickly, can just lick its fur in order to get nutrition. No, they also eat leaves. But those are all mutualistic relationships. You might have commensalism, where one species benefits and the other one's not even hurt. Remoras on sharks. The remora gets to eat any little particle the shark misses. Doesn't bother the shark. No impact. I'm curious, and this is just a thought question. You got pets. Some of you guys have pets. What kind of relationship do you have with your pet?